We're going to talk to somebody who went to 4 different universities over 6 years in 4 different countries. But as soon as she graduated, what did she do? Started an Amazon business, and within 2 years already exited her 7-figure per year company. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level. I can't even talk anymore, guys. Of any level in the Amazon or Walmart world. That's what happens when you've done like 350 episodes, guys, and you've said the same thing. Sometimes you can't even say it anymore. But anyways, sometimes what I do on this show is I'll just completely randomly either meet somebody or see like an article or a video somewhere. I'll be like, oh man, this person sounds interesting, their story. Like they seem like they have a good story. I don't want to like watch any more of this video. I just want to like see if I can find them and bring them on the podcast. I've done that a couple times before. You guys remember, Shan and Sharon, I heard his story before. Tons and tons of times. I've just like found people that way randomly. And so I don't know what it was. I think it was on LinkedIn, and I'm connected to some people from Amazon Singapore. I have a good relationship with Amazon Singapore. We've been working together for a little bit. And then, so I was looking at one of my friends from Amazon's feed, and he put a YouTube video of an Amazon video, like an Amazon YouTube channel. And it was like, hey, here's a success story of an Amazon seller. And I clicked on it. I was watching for 30 seconds. I was like, okay, this seems interesting. I want to see if this person, first of all, uses Helium 10. So then I checked the brand name, and then I went to our customer service department. I was like, all right, guys, is there any accounts in Helium 10 that has this domain, which I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but I already forgot what the domain is, but it was fresh in mind. And so I took it to the customer service, and they're like, yeah, there's somebody who's been a Helium 10 member for like 3 years, and it's this exact company name. I was like, ooh, this must be them. So then I contacted my friend in Amazon. I'm like, hey, that video that you just put up of this lady who started this company named Crystal? She's like, yeah, I know the video. I was like, can you connect me with her? Because I want to get her whole story on the podcast. And then within like 2 or 3 days, we got connected, and then boom goes the dynamite. Here we are. And as it turns out, you said we actually met in person once.
Yeah,
before?
so we actually met twice, I would say. So
Twice. That's
yes.
pretty embarrassing. My memory is terrible.
No, it's actually the Prosper show. I think I met you in a Helium 10 party, and then the next day I was with a friend of mine, and then we're in the exhibition hall. So I think my friend talked to you, but I didn't talk to myself because so for me, I'm a very talkative person, but every time I meet somebody famous, I just get nervous. And
don't feel like that with me. But I don't feel so bad now. Anything. If it was that Prosper show, there was thousands of people. So, I mean, people know my memory is bad, but now I don't feel so bad. Because if we were to talk, who are you with?
I was with Mitul Patel.
Oh, Mitul, yes. I've known him for like 4 years, and he was on the podcast about 20 or 30 episodes ago. Yep, Mitul.
Interesting.
It's a small world, guys. It's for crazy sure. How we get connected.
You guys were talking about baseball cards at the time.
Yeah, yep, that's us. Absolutely. We're always talking about baseball cards. Yes. All right. Now, what piqued my interest? Like I said, my memory's bad, but something that was like, what in the world? The very first thing was, it said that you started your Amazon business with $100,000 investment. So let's not jump there yet, but I wanted to say that now because I know I'm going to forget it in a little bit. But let me start at the beginning. Where were you born and raised?
So yeah, I was born and raised in China. So I'm Chinese, and I was from a place, it's called Hangzhou. So where, Alibaba is from. It's an e-commerce hub, coincidentally. Until I was 20 years old, then I moved to California initially, actually, and then I moved to Canada, and now I'm in Singapore.
Okay, so you've been all over the place. Now, did you come to Canada for university or something, or what brought you to North America?
Yeah, so initially I was in UC Davis. I was there for exchange student. I was exchange semester.
UC Davis, isn't that like a lot of farmers or something go to?
Yeah.
Agriculture.
Yes, agriculture department was very good. But I was so initially I was studying computer science in China, and then I wanted to change my major, so I changed to economics and psychology and finance. So after exchange quarter in UC Davis, I officially transferred to Canada. So I actually went to University of Alberta, which is in Edmonton, Alberta, in
Hmm.
Canada. I'm not sure if you know, but
Yep,
they
I
have
just
a
went there for the first time. For Amazon conference. Well, AMZ One Step is based out of there. They're a company who just does a lot of content with us, and they're based. They hosted a conference, and it was and one of my employees, on my actual team, Leilama Hassan. She lives in Edmonton, so Oiler country out
Euler,
there.
yeah, exactly. They're in playoff right now. So I
Yes.
was there for 3.5 years for my university, and after that, I moved to Calgary, which is another city in Alberta. For 2.5 years, I worked there, and then I
What
came
What
to
did you do for work over there?
yeah. So I worked for Ernest and Young as a management consultant. And after that, I moved to Singapore for my MBA. And then after that,
That's a lot of school you've been going. Sounds like you've been in school for years and years and
I
years.
know it's just way too much education. I try to be a good Asian girl when I was in my 20s, and
Yep.
I want to please my parents, and whatever, they're really hard to please. But and then after so I moved to Singapore for my MBA, and then I graduated, work here for a few years, and then I started my Amazon business.
Okay, so you, I mean, I don't know. That sounds like 6, 8, 10 years of schooling. It obviously wasn't for a degree in Amazon. So you studied all these things. Now, what made you say, you know what? I'm not sure if I'm going to get into this field. Let me go ahead and start a business on Amazon. Like that's not like a normal jump after eight years of school to do that. So what was the thought process there? How did you discover the Amazon opportunity and decide that that was the way to go for you?
Right. So, I mean, first of all, my MBA, study was only 1 year, so that helped with a little bit of
Okay.
saving time. But I definitely always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just kind of knew that I want to do this for a long time. And it's really just because of immigration issues when I was in Canada, because I need to get my permanent residence and yada, yada, yada. So, like, I
Hmm.
was on a visa, like, I just could never do it. But in the meantime, I was always trying to hash out ideas with my friends. We're thinking about software ideas, we're thinking about financial service ideas, we're thinking about a bunch of ideas. But my true passion was always in consumer products that I knew, because I had this habit ever since I was a kid. I will go to supermarkets with my parents, and I will go grocery shopping every week. But somehow I was always able to pick up the most expensive item on the aisle because I had an eye for product packaging.
Okay.
So I won't even look at the price. I just knew this one is what I like. And what I like is always the most expensive item, because they're just so well put together, right? So, like, I just love that process of, like, figuring out the products, what they do, and the packaging, the color they use, the design, and what makes them attractive to consumers. And I think that I just always was like that. And unfortunately, I actually wanted to do consumer products in my consulting as well, consulting journey, but I was never able to do that. So in the end, I just had this yearning, in my head. And even in my MBA essay, application essay, I said that I want to start my own business. So after I moved to Singapore, I worked a little bit, in consulting again, and I just knew that was not for me. And at that time, I got my Singapore PR as well, which is, permanent residence, which means you
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
quit a job and you can just work, right? Like a normal person. You don't need to work in another job anymore. Because you know how if you don't have a PR, and if it's like American green card, right? If you don't have a green card, you're on a visa. Then if you don't have a job, then you'll be kicked out of the country within a few months, right? So at that time, I had my PR, I had my freedom, and I think the second day I got my PR, I registered my company in Singapore.
The
So
company that
that's
you were going to start for Amazon.
yes, yes, and
So
so
so so
that's
so
yeah,
you already decided, like, in your mind, hey, this is Amazon, but still, like, how did you even know about Amazon? Like, like
yeah,
I said, this is not something you study in school. So
for
did you
sure,
just find this online, or you had a
for sure.
friend doing it, or what?
Yes, yeah. So I have a friend who's also an entrepreneur, and he came to visit me from Vancouver. And I told him, I was like, hey, like, I really want to start my own thing, but I don't know what that is. I wanted to do something consumer goods related. And he said that, like, why don't you look into Amazon? Apparently he said kids these days make a lot of money on Amazon. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. And so I started to look on YouTube, actually. And I as a lot of other people, I actually took a class, a course on
Okay.
Amazon, and then I was like, wow, this is really makes sense. I still remember, the guy, he talked about supply and demand. He was like, this is a product supply and demand. You always want to find something that is in high demand but low supply, yada yada yada. Basic econ 101. And I was like, this makes total sense. I
Hmm.
want to do this. And I burned through the course, and I literally just registered my account that week, and then I registered for my company as soon as I got my PR.
Okay, now hold on. You registered your company. Now, at that point, though, like, did you make a company name that kind of had to do with the product that you ended up making?
No, absolutely not. So initially,
Okay.
I was actually wanted to do. So I had a business partnership initially,
Hmm.
and he was from New York. Well, he lived there, and we wanted to start a company that in travel space. So we wanted to make some like travel kits for people so they can kind of have whatever they need when they're on the trip. But unfortunately, the pandemic hit. But good thing that we actually didn't pursue that route, because
Yeah.
otherwise that would have ended this as a
Yeah.
disaster.
2020, the travel niche was not exactly a good way to go
No,
on Amazon.
100%. No, 100% not. But we didn't know that, right? Because we
Yeah.
started
Yeah. Of course.
brainstorming it in
Okay. So you
2019.
made the company name, and then you're like, okay, this is just maybe a generic company name. Now let's go ahead and start doing product research and decide what to sell.
Yeah, so what happens is that we actually did a focus group, me and him, and then we decided on Abound. So that that's a company name, and based on a lot of people's feedback on travel, right? So we're thinking about, okay, what are the names that people resonate when they travel, go somewhere. So basically, we come up with Abound, right? And I added lifestyle at the end
Okay.
because so what happens is that he took a job with McKinsey, and he didn't want to do this anymore. So I decided to do this myself. And I at the time was thinking about home, in home decor instead of travel, because I was thinking, like I'm more passionate about home, so I'm just gonna start something with home now that he's gone. So then I added lifestyle after Abound, right? Because Abound is more kind of like travel name. I added Abound
Hmm.
Lifestyle is more kind of a lifestyle brand. So that's
Okay.
where the name came from.
Okay. Now you're living in Singapore at this time.
Yes.
What was the process like for you being a now wait at this time? What was your citizenship?
Well, yeah. So I've always been Chinese. I'm still Chinese right
Okay.
now. But I'm
Okay. So
a
then when you
yeah.
applied to sell in North America, you applied as a Chinese citizen.
So this is tied to. It's actually tied to the company. So the company is a Singapore company. It doesn't really matter what citizenship you have. You can always have companies in different countries, right? So when I was in Canada, I had my own company as well, and it's a Canadian company.
Okay. Okay. So then, I get this question a lot. People who live in other countries are like, oh man, how do I, is it too hard to set up, I'm not a citizen of America. How do I set up an Amazon USA account? And that what you just said is the easier way as opposed to trying to do it and, show your, you have to have a call sometimes. I think actually nowadays you have to do that now, with passport and stuff. But when you have a company, it's a lot better process. Okay. So you started now, you decided on the company name, started your Amazon account. What was your process on like actually figuring out what was the exact first product you were going to do, and what was the first product that you ended up launching?
Yeah, so I was looking into a bunch of different products, and I would say like it's not magical formula, right? You kind of just need to try and see. I would say it's really just throwing mud on the wall and see which one sticks at the time. And initially, I was doing this thing, and as I remember, it's a USB light. So it's like a light where you insert into your car USB port or your laptop, and it kind of like lights up the ceiling, right? So it has a Rolls Royce kind of like starlights, whatever you call it. And then so I was doing that, and it was a very cheap product. It was $10. Literally super saturated competitive market, wasn't making any money, wasn't selling anything. And I was like, wow, this is harder than I expected. But then I kept trying, and I basically started to sell textile products. And I started to sell. I think our biggest bestseller product is Chunky Knit Blanket. and it did really well. And I started to just kind of pile on other product ideas as an extension of that brand. So we started to sell, rugs, bath mats, pillows, curtains, etc., bedding. So that's how this whole
How
brand
did this
comes together.
where does this $100,000 startup come? Like, was it for your first X number of products, or like you invested that much all at once? Talk about that, because that was what blew me. That was what I was like, all right, I'm going to pause right here because that's crazy. I have never met somebody, one person who put in this much money.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say, first of all, that's my saving, right? And I and I would say, like, that was my entire saving at the time after B school. Paid off all the tuition fee and everything. So I literally put everything I had to the business, and it's not all together, right? Because that's kind of like, that's not necessary, right? Like, I didn't want it to not prove something and then put that much money, right? I only wanted to put that much money when something is proven. So when I started to sell Chunky Blanket, it really kind of blew up. And the first year, it was just doing better and better, and I was constantly out of stock. And then I would say the first year I put like the total of $100,000 into the business. So that
How many
was
products
after.
was that?
So I would say most of the money went to that went to that parent product. And I would say at the time I probably had 4 SKUs.
Okay. Okay. So then in your, like, I don't know, your first 6 months, what was your gross sales approximately? I know that's kind of a hard thing to
Yeah,
remember.
it's a little bit hard to think about it right now, but I
Yeah.
think at the time, oh gosh, so first of all, it's more of a seasonal product. So we did sell the most during November and December. So I would say the first few months, the first 3 months was probably something about 100K, like nothing too
Hmm.
spectacular,
Hmm.
right? And it really started to pick up around
Oh yeah, nothing.
September.
$100,000. It's nothing. No,
In
that's good.
total.
That's good though. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, comparing to the winter numbers, right? Because that
Sure,
was
sure,
like
sure.
huge.
Okay. All right. So I'm assuming the LED light failed, or you
Oh
gave up
no.
on it, or
I mean, I was like, this is not going anywhere. Like, nah,
yeah.
I just gave up on it.
Okay, so that's good. Some people, like, they get so emotionally attached to their first product, and they're like, "No, I gotta just keep doing. I gotta try whatever it takes to keep this going." But I like that attitude. Like, hey, you can see it wasn't making money for you. This is not a home run. We gotta go ahead and stop this and move to something else. Now, from day one, did you already have in mind an exit? Because in those days, 2020. 2019, 2020, all of a sudden now people were starting to get to know about, like, aggregators and exiting your business. Whereas like 2018, 2017, almost nobody was talking about those kind of things. So when you were first starting, did you already have that in mind? Like, it would be nice if I can build this brand up and sell it. Or were you like, you know what, I just want to build this brand up and see if it can, make me a lot of money by
Yeah.
itself.
So I think there's a little bit for me, because I did have a little bit of a business education. So like we were taught a lot, right? Even in school, like on exit. And then I remember when I first started off in this business, because I wasn't sure if it's going to be an Amazon business or a Shopify or not, right? And I remember talking to an angel investor, and he said that you should always build your business from the exit and backwards, right? So always have an exit in mind when you build your business, right? Doesn't matter whether you exit it or not, but it's always good so that you know what to look for. So that's what I had in mind. Even like I think I had this, I think the sheet that I wrote down a bunch of goals on, and in my study, and I think at the time I was thinking about exiting in 5 years. It came a little bit earlier than that later on, but I definitely had that as a goal.
I'm looking at your website, and I can see, I'm not sure which are newer products or which were the products when you were running things, but are you the one who developed this concha bread pillow, the Mexican pan dulce pillow?
So I mean that's an interesting story, because we did have an intern who was actually a Mexican Chinese.
Uh-huh. A
so and
Mexican
and
Chinese
then she lived in Hong Kong, right? And so it's kind of like a
who
mix,
lived in Hong Kong.
interesting
Oh my goodness.
mix, background there. And then she she speaks fluent English, but her Spanish is better, I would say. So she was interning with us as a marketing intern, and she was looking to different product ideas. And then she found the concha pillow idea. And I had no idea what was concha. I don't think I had a concha in my life. And she was like, oh my gosh, like this is like huge in Mexico. Like like it would be like, very good as a pillow idea. So I started to do my research on Amazon. I found out there's only one seller. So that's why, I was like, okay, like we need to get onto this like tomorrow, because it fits the brand image very well. And, like it's also so novel. And, I just love the idea. So we kind of developed, products around that. But it's
Okay.
completely accident.
So it was just a complete like random idea that one of your employees had. Okay, so now like you said, this was only like one company doing it. So it's not like, hey, there's so much of it and you can find like a million companies on Alibaba who already have this design. So I'm assuming you had to design this yourself. And so what was that process like? So did you have your friend kind of like come up with a design for you and then you just found a generic pillow company and said, hey, can you guys make this? Or what's the process on making something that kind of doesn't exist out there?
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, first of all, like it's not like nobody's selling it, right? So we did have a little bit of idea of how what the
Okay.
shape would look like, but also I
Hmm.
think what really helped was that we look at the food, right, like the concha itself, and then I basically just kind of like sent to my supplier and be like, hey, can you make a few different versions of this, and then send it to me, and then I'll see which one, is the best. And I had a few different versions, and I actually launched a pig food survey on them, and then I picked the most well liked one. And on top of that, obviously, like there's some other pillows and other samples that might look even more like a concha, but it wasn't that classy. So I felt like it didn't really fit into the brand image as well. So I basically just chose the one that is the most elegant, but also the most well liked. And I could see that as a staple item, like not like too out of there or something that in people's home.
All right. What about? I was looking at the store. Another. I'm just taking advantage of this because I know that the company is public. Usually you know how Amazon sellers are. Oh my goodness. I don't care if it was a product I sold 10 years ago. I can never tell you what it is. But on that YouTube video, you said what your brand was, and you already said what your brand was here. So, anyways, another top seller is Get Naked Bath Mat. So where did that idea come from?
Yeah, so I would say that is also okay. So after you have a brand, right, and after
Okay.
you have a few different products, you started to get the idea of what your brand's personality is. So I always wanted to have it to be a little bit more kind of humorous, personable, colorful. Not just a point, not just a black and white, whatever, kind of a standard IKEA, right? So and that's why I was looking for those products that kind of fit into that mold. So Get Naked, I mean, like Get Naked is it fits into that 100%, right? So and this also based on a lot of research on Amazon, we found that there is a market for that. And that's why we just started to do the Batman. I was also doing really well, and then so we launched more variations after that.
Yeah. So guys, here's another lesson. Once you do start a brand on Amazon and you're trying to build up the brand, don't try and just put yourself in a box. This was all under the same brand. She made a brand name that was I don't want to necessarily use the word generic because sometimes it has a bad connotation, but it was broad enough where a bound lifestyle. That's the a bound lifestyle where it could there's a number of things that she could do under it. So I don't know which product was first, but let's just say the first product she made was, or one of the first one was the pillow. Now somebody might think, okay, well, what other pillows can I make, or maybe a blanket? Or other bedroom things, or something that's for sofas like this pillow was. But she went to another room in the house and what somebody might not think is even related to each other, which is something for the bathroom and like with a funny comedic message on it. So guys, when you're thinking about expanding your brand, now if you made a brand name that is dog foods for us, well, you're kind of stuck to making dog food. But if you have a more broad name, like Crystal did, think outside of the box. And I'm looking at the storefront here, and a lot of equal sales here, but it's all over the place. I see a succulent pillow. I see a beach towel. I mean, that's not even for the house. I mean, there's just like a big variety of stuff here, and I think that's maybe part of your success. Now, like you had said before, you switched early on to Helium 10. What did you or your team like? What did you use Helium 10 for? Like, what were your like go-to tools
I mean,
on that you were using?
okay, we kind of used everything, right? So, I mean, like Helium 10 is such a great tool. And I think that one of the good things about you guys always listen to people's feedback and then come up with, better and better tools. So I just feel like, what I know about Helium 10, say a year ago is completely different from now, right? So, but there's always a few trackers that we absolutely always go to, like for example the market tracker, right, and then the competitor tracker. Oh, I
Mhm.
actually can't even remember it anymore because I don't know whether I told you, but I did exit on this brand a month
Yes,
ago.
I saw that. Somebody mentioned that to me. Yep.
So I took a little bit break, and as a result, I can't remember exactly the name is anymore. But the market tracker for sure, and the competitor, and I think profitability, and black box, pretty much everything, like everything. But I would say the one that really is the one that adds the most value to us is a market tracker, because the ranking you need to track every day, right? Otherwise, we'll drop the ball.
Like you mentioned, you exited your brand. How did that get on the roadmap? Like did you start looking, or did somebody contact you first? And do you remember when approximately that was?
Well, you know what? Like it's funny because actually a year into the establishment of the brand, somebody already reached out to me, one of the aggregators, and they wanted me to sell to them. Now I didn't sell to the aggregator; I sold to somebody else. But
Why
uh,
why not? What stopped you that first time?
okay, so there was something in it where I guess eventually the price that they wanted to give it to us was just not what I was looking for. So I mean that was what stopped it. But basically I wasn't even thinking about it because I was like, okay, well maybe I was thinking give myself another year. And but then since they contact me, and then I started to kind of getting ready for the sales, right? So I started to hire advisors, start doing my books, clean it up, and so yeah, I mean, like, so I would say that entire process probably took, I would say like more than 6 months to a year.
6 months to a year of getting kind of like doing your, making sure everything is in order so that once, a deal did come your way, um, you know, it would have been a much faster process since you had everything prepared.
No, it's actually so that preparation process only took a month,
Uh-huh.
but it was the entire selling process, right? So from like getting attention to negotiating to finally exiting. Now I also had two deals falling through, so so that's why like it took a little bit longer.
Was it an aggregator or just a person or a broker, or like what did you end up what did you end up deciding to do as far as who
Yeah,
you
so
would
it
sell
wasn't
to?
necessarily aggregator. It was more of an investment company. So
Okay.
yeah, but I couldn't say more just because it's
Yeah, yeah.
due to
Yeah,
confidentiality.
I was just curious. There's no right answer to that. Some people use brokers, some people use just sell to a friend. Some people, investment companies like you, aggregators. There's no, like right or wrong way as long as you're happy with
Right.
the deal. So now, you sold, got a decent payday, out of it. That's allowed you to kick back and just kind of relax for a little bit. But what's the future hold for you? Like, are you going to go back into Amazon? You're going to go into something else? What's your plans?
Yeah, so I think, to be honest with you, I think I have ADHD, so I can't really just kind of like, chill on the beach like that, just not my personality.
Uh huh.
So I've been thinking about my next business even before I sold this business. And I definitely wanted to do more in consumer goods space and, obviously on Amazon as well as, off Amazon. So, I've been brainstorming that, I've been doing a lot of market research, not sure when everything will come together, but like I've been doing a lot of thinking around my next brand.
Okay. All right. Now, looking back, you kind of, I mean, your life cycle on Amazon was pretty quick. Actually, wasn't that long. It's not like I was building up my business for 10 years and finally exited. It was just a couple of years here. So looking back on these couple of years that you were on Amazon, What are some of the mistakes you made that if you had to do it over, you would have done it over again, other than the LED light? We know about that. But what other mistakes and what are some kind of like unique things other than listening to your very interesting nationality of an employee who had a crazy off the wall idea? But like, what were some more kind of like wins and losses you had along the way?
Oh yeah, I think I've definitely learned so much from this I would say first business idea that I have, and um, I think the biggest lesson learned is that okay, so and this is not a lot of gurus don't tell you, right? And it's that you if you wanted to do big in anything, right? Amazon included, whatever other business, is that you really need to have that infrastructure. You need to have the system and to have the people in place, right, to help you grow that. Because what happens is that I think a lot of those courses out there, they just like it's almost like they're teaching you to make a quick buck, and then so they're like, okay, you pick this product, you do this thing, and then boom, you're gonna make money. Yeah, sure, you'll make money, but it's gonna be very short term, right? Like, how are you gonna sustain that? Because like running any company, right, it doesn't matter whether it's 10 people company, 100 people run company, you need to have that support, right, to help you grow, especially when you're growing in a fast pace. Like, you as a person is not going to sustain that pace anymore. So I did have a team, right? But then I was reaching to that point when I felt like I couldn't train them anymore, right? So basically, it was going from 0 to 1 and 1 to 10, right? So I was at that one stage where I was like, okay, like how can I even scale it further, because I don't have the expertise to train them anymore, right? And I need to hire experts. So I felt like if you have that structure set up a little bit earlier in your journey, so that you don't need to kind of scramble when you're already at the place where you're still doing your day-to-day operations, right? Like, you're still like kind of like need to like micromanaging a lot of things, and you kind of burn yourself out. You already know, like, this person's here doing this. This is a department. This is a department for this, right? Like, as you grow, you also need to grow your structure. It will be a lot more manageable, and it will actually help you grow faster and longer. So I would say that's one lesson that I take with me for my next business. I think a lot of people, if you wanted to build a big Amazon business, not just kind of like fly by, make a quick buck, and then I call it quit. You need to have that mentality of a company in mind.
Okay. What about the exit process? I mean, like you said, you said no to an aggregator, and there was
Yeah,
two other deals that fell through. There are some people out there who maybe might get so
yeah,
excited that
yeah.
somebody is interested in their brand that they might take a deal that maybe they shouldn't. But you didn't do that. So what are some things that you can maybe teach other people about, like
Yeah.
what made you stop doing those deals, and like how people can kind of have self control and make sure that they're getting the right deal that's really good for their brand.
Right. So I think for that, like, I'm all about like giving people reality checks, because I think that these kind of things is people like, normally they don't tell you. Like, they just tell you the sunshine and rainbows, but that is not the reality, right? So like, I think the reality is that and it's not just aggregators. There's a lot of companies when they approach you to do deals, right? Like, they were obviously trying to give you the greatest picture and be like, hey, like, we're giving you this price. So they try to hook you in, and then until you sign that, you sign the letter of intent, and then you go into the process, and what they do is that they will lower the price, and they're going to pick on this because then they honor exclusivity, right? So like, I think that as a seller yourself, like, you should always kind of like have being realistic. Like, a lot of companies approach you, doesn't mean that all of them are equally sincere, right? Doesn't mean that like, they really see the value of your brand like you see it. So like, I think that the biggest lesson learned for me is that you almost need to really like kind of like push that emotion of yours away from the process, because like, things happen, like, maybe they discover something they don't like, or maybe like, their own company has some financing situation they need to take care of. Maybe there's a strategic change in the company's direction that they end up not being interested in you, or so a lot of things could happen, right? And you just really need to kind of know that like, running your business is like number one priority, and not be distracted by the offers, the DD process, and all what or whatnot other things. you need to understand that as long as you run your business and your business is growing, there's always going to be offers. And even if you don't sell, like it's a steady stream of income, and it's only going to be a better company if you put more effort into it, right? So I would say that is the biggest lesson learned. And now another thing is turning down the offer. So I would say, like, as long as you have that mentality, right? So don't think that, okay, my gosh, if I don't sell, my life is over. Like, don't have that desperation. As long as your focus is on the growth of the business, like, you will be having such a clear mind that if you don't like an offer, you will reject it. And if you like an offer, and if they something happens, you're okay with not taking it or falling through as well. So that is my biggest lesson learned, in this such a painful process.
Okay. Yeah, that's important. Like I said, I know a lot of people who might not have the self-control, and maybe they would have taken one of those earlier things and they would have ended up with a lot less money or even more headaches, with the deal. So that's important information. Something we do on the show is we ask our guests to give what we call the 30-second tip. So maybe you can give one or two different strategies. You've talked about different strategies throughout this episode about how you found the products and your process of exiting, but maybe something that's a little bit faster, like a 30-second to 1 minute, a couple strategies, either about how you found products, how you marketed them, how you did your PPC. I mean, how to live in 17,000 countries like you have. It could be a tip about anything. So maybe you can give us one or two tips.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. So I would say a few things, right? And I wanted to talk about more of like a philosophical tips. So the first one is, I think, very importantly, is you need to know who you are. So in this business, not only Amazon, but e-commerce in general, like, are you a mercenary, or that you need something else, right? So some people, they're only, if they make money, they're fine, right? But if you're one of those people who you need to wanted to have the pride in your brand, you wanted to serve people and you wanted to make something better, then you need to spend a lot more time in R&D. You need to have a longer vision of what your brand is, and you also need to kind of have more of a focus of building that community. So that's the first one. And the second one is, I would say, there's a saying, genius is the one most like himself. So don't try to be somebody else, right? Like in this Amazon world where a lot of people, they're like, oh my gosh, like somebody is an 8-figure seller, 9-figure seller. Like, I wanted to do that, right? But I felt like you can never be somebody else. So you need to find your strength, and you need to use that every single day so that you can reach to their height one day, but in a different way. And the third, I would say, is find your superpower. So like, some people, maybe they have, I think everybody of us have quirks, right? So, some people might have OCD, like, ADHD, autism, whatever, but you can channel that superpower in entrepreneurship so that you can focus on how to leverage your quirkiness into something, instead of, be like, okay, I need to fix this, I need to do finance, I need to do everything, right? So you can outsource those things, and you can just focusing on your superpower as you scale.
I like it. All right. Well, like you said, which I forgot, we met at a Prosper show. So you definitely see the value in, like going to conferences and networking and things like that. So did you hear about our big event that we're doing in Las Vegas this year in September, the Sell and Scale Summit?
Yeah, I heard about it. Yeah. It sounds very interesting.
Guys, make sure to come. I'm going to try and convince Crystal to come back to the Amazon world and come out there. But, we're going to have Gary Vee there speaking, Nelly performing. It's going to be a really great conference. So if you guys haven't got your tickets yet, make sure to go to h10.me/S3, and I'll give you a special coupon code to save $100 off, guys. Save $100 off your Sell and Scale Summit ticket. The coupon code is S3BS100. BS, yes. Aren't those great initials that I have there? S3BS100. Guys, save $100 off, and we'll try and get Crystal there so you can ask her more questions. So, Crystal, thank you so much for joining. It's really great to see your story, and like 95% of this I didn't know. But I usually go with my gut. Like I'll know within like 2 minutes of hearing about somebody's story if I think they have an interesting Amazon life story, and sure enough, you did. So I'm happy that I saw that video of you and that you came on here and told your story, and hopefully it inspire other people. Look at this, guys. She went from going years in college, but then she was like, you know what? I know what I want to do. This Amazon thing is the way to go. She jumped into it. And then, within 2-3 years, she's already exiting. And we don't know how much money she made here, but it was nice enough where she's just like been kicking back the last few months and enjoying life. And so you've got it made, Chris. I like that. And I hope other people are inspired too, that maybe they can follow in your footsteps.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in life, like I increasingly start to realize that you just need to do whatever makes you happy. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're stuck in a corporate job, you hate it. Honestly, how many years of life, should you waste, right? So that's the single most important thing is that you should not waste your happiness on anything that's not worth it.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. All right, Crystal. Well, hopefully we'll see you in Vegas this year. If not, keep in touch, and hopefully we can get you back on Amazon and making your second success story.
Well, so Brady, is one thing that I want to mention is for my
Okay.
next business, I do have a direction where I want to focus a little bit more on mental health, but also consumer goods. Maybe in scent space. I'm not sure yet, but I do want to let people know that if there's anybody who's interested in similar topics, feel free
Mm-hmm.
to reach out to me. I'm open to ideas and potentially partnerships.
Okay.
So yeah, that's definitely something that I'm
How
passionate
can how
about.
can people find you on the interwebs out there?
Yeah. So they can find me on either Instagram, so it's Crystal Ren, but it's X, so XTALREN, or linking Crystal Ren, but maybe typing Singapore because there's many of them.
Yeah.
You'll find the same profile picture, so easy to find me.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Crystal, for joining us, and we'll be seeing you soon.